Mrs Udeme Otike-Odibi was supposed to leave Nigeria for medical treatment in the United Kingdom. She was billed to leave for the UK at 5 a.m. on the 3rd of May 2018 through the Virgin Atlantic Airline. However, around midnight on the day she was supposed to travel, Udeme sent a disturbing text message to her friend Mrs Maureen Offor, telling her that she had done something terrible and that she couldn't take it anymore. Mrs Maureen, who was deep into her midnight prayers when the message came in, decided to pause and reply to her friend. In her response, Maureen reminded her that she thought she had already packed for the trip scheduled for that morning. She also repeated their previous discussion, stating that they had agreed to not take any action regarding her troubles until later. She reminded Udeme that their plan was for her to travel first and take care of her health. Then, upon her return, she would address the issues with her husband and then decide if the marriage was worth saving. About 4 minutes after sending this message, Maureen got a short reply from Udeme saying she had tried. Feeling the dark aura surrounding the conversation with her friend, Maureen abandoned her prayers and then called her on the phone, but she got no response. She kept on trying over and over again, but still, Udeme never answered her phone. About 20 minutes later, Maureen sent Udeme another text message asking why she wasn't answering her calls. Still, she received no response from her friend. She sent the message again, but still couldn't get a response from her. Since it was already getting late, Maureen decided to go to bed that night. Meanwhile, before Udeme sent the message to Maureen, her husband, Mr. Simforoza Otike-Odibi, had called his mother to inform her that his wife, Udeme, was assaulting him and that she also had a knife in her possession. When Simforoza's mother could no longer hear from her son, she called her younger daughter and then asked her to go to her brother's house to check on him. Since the sister was a bit far away from the couple's residence in Diamond Estate, Lagos State, Nigeria, she decided to call Simforoza's friend, Mr. Stanley Granchkoko, who lived in the same estate, around 2 a.m., asking him to assist her in checking up on her brother. Mr. Stanley quickly left his residence and then drove to Simforoza's house that night. However, when he arrived there, he knocked on the gate repeatedly, but there was no response. He called Simforoza's name numerous times, but he still got no response. Mr. Stanley then entered his car and drove back to his house. However, things got serious when the sister called him again, asking that he go back to the brother's house to check what was happening because the couple's lives were at stake. Hearing this, Mr. Stanley took his wife and also called the estate security men before driving to Simforoza's house the second time. When they didn't get any response after knocking on the gate, they had to climb the fence into the compound. The front door to the house was locked, but after knocking several times without a response, they decided to break it down to gain entry. Mr. Stanley quickly ran upstairs where he saw blood on the floor. He followed the blood trail and it led him to both the bathroom and the couple's bedroom. However, the bedroom was locked from inside. Once again, they had to break down the door, but nothing in the world would have ever prepared them for what they were about to witness inside the bedroom. When they stepped into the room, they found the couple lying on the bed. I have to say that the state in which they found both the couple and the bedroom were too graphic to describe in this video. Mrs. Udeme was still alive, but just lying down on the bed with injuries that would later be determined to be self-inflicted, while her husband, Mr. Simforoza, was found with a serious stab wound on his abdomen. He was also holding something unimaginable in his right hand. Mr. Simforoza was no longer alive, and it appeared as though he had been that way for hours, long before Udeme even sent the message to her friend Maureen, hinting her on what had happened. Horrified by what he had just witnessed, Mr. Stanley quickly ran out of the house, only to meet Simforoza's younger sister coming up to the bedroom, knowing fully well what was lying in wait for her. Mr. Stanley tried to stop her from going into the room, but she ran past him and entered. Some seconds later, she was also seen running out of the room. Udeme was taken to the hospital for treatment, and the police were also called to the scene. The police arrived shortly after to begin their preliminary investigations. Inside the bedroom, they recovered a frying pan which was suspected to have been used in the attack. They also recovered a kitchen knife which was believed to be the murder weapon. The sister could not get a good look at what her brother was holding when she entered the room, but after asking the police, she was told that it was his genitals. The sister was asked if there was anyone else in the room when the couple was found, to which she answered no. Mrs. Udeme was therefore considered the prime suspect in the tragic murder. Mr. Simfroza Otike-Odibi was a 52-year-old lawyer from Delta State, while his wife, Udeme, was a 48-year-old lawyer from Akwa Ibom State. The two got married in 2014, but reportedly had no children between them. Their union was barely up to 4 years before the tragic incident took place. The marriage between the two was far from perfect. It was riddled with all kinds of marital issues, but the deal breaker was Simfroza's alleged infidelity. People who were close to the couple were aware of the growing tension between them. Some months before the murder, Udeme had confided in her friend, Maureen, that she was no longer happy in the marriage. She had also informed Maureen of her decision to travel to the UK just to take some time away from the marriage. However, when she returned from the UK that year, she noticed that her husband had stopped eating at home. In response, she had decided not to bother cooking for him anymore. Hearing this, Maureen advised her to continue cooking for her husband, even though it was just small portions. Despite being advised to prepare his meals, even in small portions, the distance between the couple continued to grow, leading to the strong feeling of resentment, which resulted in the tragedy of that Thursday night. After Udeme was treated in the hospital, she was taken into custody for interrogation, where she would proceed to give the chilling details of what transpired that night. Udeme explained to the police that her husband was having an extramarital affair and that whenever she raised the issue with him, he would appear nonchalant and also give responses that were not satisfactory to her. She also disclosed that on the day before the incident, she was preparing to travel to the UK, but after looking for a marriage certificate in the bedside locker and not finding it, she approached her husband, who was lying on the bed at the time, to ask about it. Udeme said she got no response from Simfroza regarding the whereabouts of her marriage certificate. She said she had a discussion with him, and along the way, the discussion turned into an argument which resulted in a hot exchange of words. This altercation made her go into the kitchen to get a frying pan and a knife. When she returned to the bedroom, she said she struck him on the head with the frying pan and then asked him what he was withholding in his mind. She stated that Simfroza called his mother to report her while she continued attacking him with the frying pan. It is not known why Simfroza never retaliated or even tried to restrain her during the attack. He may have probably thought that she wasn't capable of what she was threatening to do, but within a few minutes, it became clear to him that she was capable of doing worse things, as she eventually stabbed him in the abdomen. Udeme told her wounded husband that if his manhood is what is giving him the license not to care about another person's emotions, it would be better to cut it off. She proceeded to do as she had said and then placed it in Simfroza's right hand before he eventually passed away that night. It could not be ascertained the exact time the murder took place, but after midnight, Udeme sent a message to Maureen telling her that she had done something terrible. She also sent a message to the husband of Simfroza's younger sister asking him to pray for them and that may God forgive her. Udeme also sent a text to her mother telling her that she was sorry and that they engaged in a fight. On June 13, 2018, she was arraigned in a court in Lagos on a 2-count charge of murder and misconduct with regard to a corpse. However, she pleaded not guilty and was therefore remanded in prison. Udeme later applied through her counsel to have her statement to the police removed from evidence because it was made in the absence of her lawyer and without being videoed as required by law. However, her application was denied and the statement was admitted as evidence. Disappointingly, after she was remanded in prison in 2018, there hasn't been any public information on her subsequent court proceedings. At the time this video was made, there was no public information on whether Udeme was ever convicted of the crime or not. The case remains one of the most tragic cases between two lawyer couples in Nigerian history. Let me know your thoughts in this case in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to this channel for more true crime stories. Thank you for watching and stay safe.